get our Monday, August 12th meeting order.
Notice comes in.
Troy died.
You can talk on that.
Michelle Hinchey.
Larry died.
Larry, I'm sorry.
Boy, he's talking rough on
No,
you.
no, he's taking my place.
I apologize. There is a Troy died too, but I was just thinking wrong. Okay.
Immediately.
I'm okay. Michelle Hinchey.
Here.
Tim Hinkle.
Here.
Danny Loggins.
Here.
Michelle Manus.
Here.
Jason Ragland.
Here.
Cindy Seiler.
Here.
Andy Tree.
Here.
Wayne Mitchell.
Here.
Andy, you wanna say a prayer?
Father in heaven, we come to you tonight, Lord. We just thank you for this good and blessed day that you've given us, for being with us. We invite you into this house tonight, Lord. Lead us and guide us and direct us in the decisions that we make for this county. Pray for the employees of the county and the citizens, Lord. Pray for their safety, well-being. And God, we just thank you for your son, Jesus, for I ask it all in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got approval of the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any opposed? We ain't got no old business. Lori called and she is sick, so she's wanting to do hers next month. So we'll go to Pam.
Most of you know that I'm with the Searcy County Fair, and the fair has lots and lots of issues. Let me get my proposal out here. I've got a copy for everybody. And that way, when I go through this, you guys can go back and refer to it and understand what I'm kind of asking for. And basically, we get $14,000 from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture every year, and our budget is $28,000. So we have a deficit of about $14,000 a year that we have to make up. So I've got a couple of things that we can talk about. We've struggled to pay the insurance at the fair. And we ended up dropping the insurance to the barn simply because we could rent the buildings and get money off of that to help pay for the utilities, but the barn we can't get any revenue off of. So it made a better business sense to me to drop the insurance on the barns, which is $608 a month, keep the insurance on the Fine Arts building and the EH building because we could rent those. And then I got to looking to find out about liability issues, and come to find out that there is a law in Arkansas about livestock and equine shows and activities that actually the liability is covered by Arkansas law for livestock shows, equine shows. So that issue has been resolved. We've had some folks that have donated some stuff and donated some supplies and donated and helped to get some of the issues that we have down at the fairgrounds fixed. But we don't have extra supply. We don't have extra money to fix everything that needs to be fixed. Our kitchen crew, the way we make our fundraisers is through selling fair book ads, raffles. They're not very effective. I haven't been very successful with that. And then our kitchen activities. But our kitchen crew is 6 to 7 of us, and we're all in our late 50s to 70 to 80. And so it makes it kind of difficult to have those on a regular basis. I've got all the credit. No one from the fair, no one can walk into Marshall Milling and put anything on credit again because we were having issues with people going down and charging things to the fair, and I didn't know about it, and then we would get a bill from Marshall Milling. We had issues with Erickson's as well, and we have had all of that stopped so that the only repairs that we do are the ones that we absolutely necessary have to have. And last year we had to replace 3 toilets that were busted. They were allowed to freeze and bust over the years. And the repair that we made this year that I got donated was for the Fine Arts Building. It had 2 showers and 2 bathrooms, and neither one of the showers were working. Now, do we need the showers? I don't know. I mean, if we get a kid that gets into a chemical, or we have an adult gets into a chemical, we need some place to get them to get it washed off. So, and then I got a hold of Chad Daniel and I asked him, I said, do you want me to put the Flint Rock Saddle Club into this proposal? And he said that he did. And so I got to looking at sales tax and how do we do a sales tax? And then I looked at what they call the hamburger bill. And on the sales tax, it reads funny. I have a copy of that here somewhere that I'm going to leave. And this is the one on the local sales tax. And it starts out talking about the cities and then it flips to the counties. And apparently with this one, that if you want to get a sales tax, you have to do it within 120 days of the election. And then 70 days before the election is held, you have to do the filing and the special election ordinance, and then you have to figure out the day for your election. My understanding is that all the Quorum Court has to do is create an ordinance that says we are willing to try to send something to the Department of Finance and Administration for a sales tax. Searcy County has, what, an 8% sales tax right now, and in the city it's a 9.5. I got my
How
numbers right.
much of this city's higher?
Right, cities are higher than that, so we have one of the lowest sales tax rates in Arkansas. I think when I looked it up, it was like 80-something% was, 80-something% was higher than what we actually have. And then we have 15 days to submit it to the DFA, and then the DFA will tell us whether or not they will accept it. And then that comes back to, get it on the ballot. Now this is just as a quick overview. I have the actual law right here. And then there's something else that is in Arkansas called the Hospitality Act. And that is a 2% gross tax. But the problem with that one is you have to create a commission within either the county or the city in order to administer those funds. And the DFA does not get involved in those. They say that that's up to the county or the city in order to collect those taxes. But then there's another clause in here, and that's the reason I brought the bill, because I'm not an attorney and I'm not a legislation, because there's something in here like you already have to owe something in order to be able to apply for the hamburger tax, as they call it, or the hospitality tax. But you can go up to 3% on that particular tax. So the bottom line is, and then I got to thinking about how will this impact the economy for Searcy County. If our fairgrounds were up and running and in good shape, we could have more youth shows. We could have more youth livestock shows. We could have cattle shows. We could have goat shows. We could have dairy goat shows and those types of things if our facility was big enough and did not have all of the issues. I mean, right now the pig in our swine barn, the water system is not adequate. It's down too low, and the pigs get up against it during the fair, and they figured out that they can get themselves sprayed if they push up against that watering system. So there's constantly leaks up there all the time with that. We have 3 outside spigots that need to have frost-free put in, and I'll have to figure out if we can actually afford to do that this year. We need to wait, and then have to find a plumber that's willing to give us his time. The electrical system in the barn has not been adequate for years. And in fact, that's the reason all the folks bring their generators up whenever they do their grooming for their animals, because our electrical system in the barn won't hold. Because it's a commercial building, because it's considered commercial, because it's on city property, we have to have licensed, mastered electricians, plumbers, anybody along those lines to come in and fix it. We can't just go say, okay, do you know how to put in a breaker in a box? No, I have to have people that know what they're doing. And so that they can sign off and say that it was done appropriately. The rodeo arena has issues. And if you've been up there any time lately, you know that the stands are in poor condition, and the rodeo folks, the Flint Rock Saddle Club, doesn't have the means to fix that. And so And I'm not asking for an exorbitant amount, I'm asking for enough to get us so that we can pay the bills in a timely manner and not have to be worried about December, January, February on where we're gonna get $800 to cover the utilities and then the insurance. And I thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
You got any questions?
Did you have a chance to talk with Mark more about this?
I've talked to Chad, he was good.
Okay.
That's the local one, and then this is that one on that hamburger tax where they say we have to have 500 signatures on that hamburger tax. And if that's something that you guys wanna try and pursue, the fair would be the perfect time to do that. And even if you don't know right now whether or not you want to pursue it, but you wanna start collecting signatures, let me know, and I'll have something there on the fairgrounds so that we can start looking at our options.
So I think the question I had today was, related to legislation of voluntary tax on the ad valorem tax statements, and I don't think we can do that. I found a.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of off the table. As far as the hospitality tax or hamburger tax, that's, something we could look at. And sales tax is sales tax. You pass an ordinance, you can furnish you sales tax for the voters. And more important wants to look into the options, we can talk about putting something together.
Well, my question is, if you do pass tax, who's in control of the money? Where does that money go and who administers the money going out? And because I know some other counties, the counties own the fairground. And the Quorum Court dispenses the money out just like it would with any other, like we do with the community center.
Right.
So, I guess my
That
question.
would have to be decided. I mean, that's one of those issues that has to be decided. I mean, we are already audited. Any money that we get from the state, we're audited on. I have to tell the state exactly where that money goes and how it goes. Because we're a 501(c)(3), I have a 990, that I have to fill out for the Internal Revenue Service every year and go that direction. If it comes from, the county, I mean, I'm not saying dump it in the fair's account down at Simmons Bank. I'm saying, however you set it up with the rest of the folks that are getting sales tax would be the exact same way that you would set it up with the fair, would be what I would think. And then that means invoices, and that means, POs, and that means where is this money going and why are you spending it? And I think there needs to be accountability, okay? Cause I'm not gonna do this forever. And whoever comes in behind me, there needs to be checks and balances.
Well, I know someone I've spoken to at Marion County, that's kind of the way theirs is, but the judge or the Quorum Court appoints the board and all that.
And that can, and
Just like you would with the community center.
all of that can change. I mean, nothing is we just redid the bylaws in 2022 because we were trying for the 501(c)(3). If we redo the bylaws and make it where that the board is appointed, then we will have to go back and redo those bylaws. That's what I think. I would assume that, which is not an issue. Because I think that the fair's been going on since 1909. It started out in Leslie, it moved to Marshall. It's something that has, it's tradition. I mean, it's been going on for years. And I don't think that we need to lose it. Or I don't think that, one of the other options is that we close down the buildings during the year and we only open the buildings up for the fair. And I have looked at that. I talked to the city about it, Do they wanna take back over the property and just let us rent those buildings? But now we've got that kitchen sitting down there, that commercial retail kitchen, and if it's shut down, those appliances and all that's gonna go down if it's not being used.
How often is that kitchen being used?
I had a lady come this week to look at it. She roasts coffee and she needs to bag the coffee. And we use that kitchen, right now that kitchen will be used at least twice a week, up to maybe once to twice a week, because we're in there preparing for the fair. And then the kitchen, when we're not doing the fair, our fundraisers, about every 6 to 8 weeks we have a fundraiser.
Has that kitchen, we're talking about the USDA approved,
Well, it's not USDA approved, it's approved by the Department of Health.
there you go.
Right,
Okay,
it's
so
a
that's the
pro-
one where they were able to can
Yes,
for resale.
right.
Has it been able to generate revenue?
It's never generated revenue because people, I make jellies and jams, I make pickles. Whenever I started down this road, we didn't have what's called the Food Freedom Act of Arkansas. Once the Food Freedom Act in Arkansas went into effect, that kitchen became null and void. Because you don't have to go into that kitchen to make pickles and to make whatever. Now, where it would be very beneficial, and this is if someone had, I wanna get into the restaurant business. I've got this great recipe, I think my food is the best food in the whole world, and I wanna see whether or not the public would want it. That's where it could be utilized. These folks could come in and rent it on Friday night or rent it on Saturday night, they can make their meals, they can sell it out of there. We charge $10 an hour and a $50 cleanup fee. And then if they wanna use our products, our pans, our whatever, there's another $50 deposit on the equipment. Because if we don't do that, we end up losing it.
Any more questions?
Is that a tax in the whole county or just the city limits of Marshall?
Tax for the whole county. Now, that hamburger tax that I was talking about, that's for any prepared food that goes out. It does not include your groceries, it doesn't include, it's strictly for rooms, hotels, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Breen. Any prepared food, like if you go get a hamburger at the Daisy Queen, or you go buy prepared food at Harps, that's where that tax comes in. So all the tourists that are coming into Searcy County, stopping and getting them something at the Sonic, that's 2% that goes on top of that. That comes back to the county. And you can expand this. I mean, if you're gonna go for it, I mean, I think a half-a-cent sales tax would do, I mean, even a quarter-cent sales tax would help the fair immensely. The other quarter can go to the rodeo arena. The other half of that, put your volunteer firemen in there, put your volunteer fire departments in there. And call it what do they call it over in Van Buren County?
Public safety.
Yes,
something
yeah,
like
alright.
that.
And they slid the fair in underneath that. And so that's, the fair gets part of the money, and then the fire departments get part of it.
Any more questions? Thank you. Okay, we got guess Chad kind of look into it for us.
Just tell me which direction you want to go, I mean.
You don't want to look at,
I don't know if you
look
want to
into
form a
it, or?
committee or.
Well, I mean, this is a monumental thing to consider, and it should go to committee. I will say, I mean, I hate to even bring it up, but honestly, Judge and I, and some of us in Quorum Court have talked about the needs of the jail upcoming, and so that's gonna be another issue, and so, I think it'd be best to go to committee and then look at all the options. I'm very much intrigued by the hospitality tax. I know I've heard of that, and I know that there has to be a commission formed, I believe, something along those lines. And I think that something like that might be very well suited.
And that tax can be used for tourism
Yeah, and so,
and recreation.
and so you can kind of fold that into saying this does attract tourism and recreation. But it still has to go to vote, as I understand, right?
It has to go to vote, and you have to have 500 signatures.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, if you folks decide that that's something that you want to do, the fair would be the perfect time to get those signatures. And even if you're leaning toward that, I mean, we could collect the signatures on the off chance that you actually would put the ordinance through. I'm okay to do that, if that's okay.
The fair is next month.
The fair's in 2 weeks.
So the problem is we won't even be competing in Quorum Court.
No, you won't.
So we wouldn't even be able to push for that, but.
Mhm.
I mean, does she have to have a Quorum Court's approval to collect signatures though?
I don't believe there's any requirement. I don't believe there's any action from the Quorum Court to open a signature collection period.
That would be a voter initiative where you could have private citizens do that, right?
Yeah. My only hesitation is I haven't read this before today. I mean, I'm vaguely familiar with the AP tax or AMP tax, but, as far as I know, there's no reason why they cannot start collecting signatures. And then once the signatures are received, you can act on the signatures received. The question is, I don't know if you're obligated to put it on for an election once that's on or not. I'll have to read, that's something I'll have to read more closely.
Well, if we start to get signatures and we see that people are not interested and they are not wanting to do it, I mean, that's gonna tell us everything we need to know right there too, but I don't know.
Then we would need to, bring a motion to form a committee and, are you working, Cindy, with the fairgrounds?
Kinda, sorta, not
Well,
really.
we're friends.
Anybody? I can put a motion out to form a committee to examine it, because that would have to be done, because there's no way we could just vote on that here without having examined and looked at the implications for the county. Do you agree with this, Judge? I mean,
Yeah, how you wanna do it, what you wanna put in.
I mean, you know, there's no way we could, I wouldn't know how to even approach this without first studying it.
I agree.
So I'll put a motion to the floor. If nobody seconds it, it dies. If somebody seconds it, we vote on it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed?
Did you want to appoint the committee, sir?
Yeah, any volunteers?
You're gonna have to appoint.
I'll volunteer.
Volunteer? Wayne, you volunteered? Who else volunteered?
I think there's others that want to volunteer. I'm already so busy. Really? You can't have a committee of one, I guess.
You volunteered already.
I did.
Yeah. Who else volunteers?
Nobody?
Anybody else want to volunteer?
I mean, I'll
There you
I'll
go.
help with
There's
it.
3 of them.
I would reluctantly, it's okay, but,
You made the motion, you gotta volunteer.
so then we have to have a chair. Does Cindy want a chair?
Cindy wants the chair.
All right.
Alright. We'll move on to appropriation ordinance 2024-36.
Appropriation ordinance 2024-36, being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Searcy, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled to amend the 2024 annual operating budget, to appropriate funds and to allow the county judge to administer said appropriation. Whereas the county has received funds from Carson Construction LLC for the cleanup in the courthouse project in the amount of $3,750. Therefore, the following appropriation is approved. Fund 3009 sales tax, Office 0700 solid waste, Account 2002 small equipment in the amount of $3,750. Whereas the ordinance herein enacted is an appropriation ordinance and therefore effective immediately.
Is this an in-kind type of arrangement?
Yeah, we hauled Debbie hauled the concrete off for the steps and stuff. So
They had an emergency, they couldn't get the
Okay.
equipment up here to do it, and asked if we would,
and that's what they paid us for that.
Well, I move that we approve appropriation ordinance 2024-36.
All in favor? Any opposed? Gary, do you wanna come up and give a little report on the radios? Sure you do.
Everybody hear me from here? I'll roll this up, I'll read part of it, and I'll talk about it a little bit. This is a report on the radio project, which, started in 2022, actually, and we've continued up to now. It's changing the radio system from the analog system over to the new digital DMR system. we were asked to assess the current radio system back in the spring of 2022. The system was an analog system. Majority of the equipment was 15 years or more older. Don Passmore done a very good job keeping it going. He just has a very limited budget and those things. And our association voted to update to a digital DMR system, which is a digital mobile radio. I'll mention that several times. Charmaine Seaton, the Searcy County OEM, Dwayne Pierce, the Searcy County Chief Deputy, and myself, 911 coordinator, met with Rocky Hyatt, but Delta controls the Searcy County Jail in March of 2022. He agreed to do a system health check. We went around to all the system. There's 7 repeater sites in the county. We went to all 7 sites. We tested the output and the input back on all of the equipment. We tested all the repeaters and everything like that. After the health check, he gave a report. When we come back in May of 2022, gave the report to that, and the Quorum Court gave approval to address some of the issues to improve what we had. We updated what had to be necessary, and we upgraded where anything we could use, we used, and what had to be done, we upgraded where possible. And we received approval to build radio buildings at 5 of the radio locations. There's 7 sites. One of those was at South Mountain, and it was housed in the KCBN radio tower, and the other was on Point Peter, and it's housed in the Buffalo National River house over there. The rest of them were just in metal storage type buildings, and we built 4 to 6 buildings at each site of the 5 sites. They're insulated, they got air conditioner in them. That'll prolong, in theory, that'll prolong the later model equipment, the lifespan of it. We installed new Motorola DMR digital repeaters at each site location. In February of 2023, we decided to ask for bids to install a telex radio console at the Searcy County PSAP, the Sheriff's Department. That's the hub of all the radio system. We turned in we got the approval to reach out for bids. After we got the bids, we also at the same time, we didn't need one without the other. We did reach out for bids on updating to the DMR system. Countywide. We got the bids, and Delta got the low bid on it. And the upgrade included new radios for all fire departments, all sheriff departments, Marshall PD, handhelds, and mobiles for all the cars. And when they got the bid, he was a winning bid. We met here in March 2023, and that night after that, he started ordering equipment. It took us about 14 or 15 months to get everything, and I talked with the OEM, the state OEM director, which is over the district that Charmaine is under. He said that Faulkner County did the same thing. It took them 14 months to get all their equipment. So it was in the process of coming out of COVID with no production. It was in the process of the Ukraine war started, and they give $5,000 for radio. We couldn't, honestly. And then they were also in the process, since everything was going, Motorola moved everything from Malaysia to Mexico, so it's all on this continent now. And so in all of that, then we finally got everything, and we received almost 400 radios in the field. We got a stack there at the sheriff's department that's got 18 radios in it, and then we've got the telex system that's downstairs. We had to hang antennas on the sheriff's department there. We had to hang 18 antennas, run all the cables, run all that, guide wires on everything back to the building. Got all that done. We got everything done. The Delta Control started building the code plugs and getting everything ready. It took probably 2 weeks to build a code plug. Each radio system had to have its own code plug. Each department had to have an individual. Each radio's got its own number because it's a digital system. It works like a telephone. If I call your phone number, your neighbor don't get it. If you call my phone number, my neighbor don't get it. It works like that. So they got it that there. After we built a code plug, we'd have to program 2 or 3 radios and test them. We got it all going. After all the radios were programmed, we handed out to the fire departments and police departments the week of July the 22nd, 2024. in August the 5th, 2024, we got started and we went and handed out and changed all the repeater sites over. And worked about 15 hours that day. And, got all that done. It was a long day, long week, and we had a few glitches, but nothing, everything went overall relatively smooth. We're still on a learning curve to dispatch, and we appreciate your patience. It's a little more added to it, you know. Nothing but gripes come. You never get a pat on the back for getting it right, but you get plenty of gripes when it don't work right. Anyway. And then also there'll be a learning curve of using them in the field, you know, there's some different things on it. And if you'll notice, if you've got one, you don't hear as much radio traffic because you're listening to a specific station and then on the scan, and that's it. And, you know, there's just some things to do with it. We've done extensive testing. We've increased the coverage in the county to above 90%. We've been all in hollers and everywhere else, and there's not hardly any radio play. There's a few places at Richland, and a few places at Long Creek, there's a few places probably on Red River that you can't get out. There's an issue that we have an opportunity maybe to move the one at Nubbin Hill to Chimes. There we have an antenna there, and we have the opportunity to move it there, and that will fill in a lot of the gaps in the southwestern part of the county. That's on a 200-foot tower, and then we'll fill in a lot of those. We've done testing with some of the radios that has that programmed into it. It's really improved that. Project couldn't have been completed without the hard work of a lot of people. I'm gonna name a few. If I miss you, I'm sorry. Okay. First of all, Tony Orton, County Judge, appreciate him. And all you court members. If y'all hadn't approved it, we couldn't have done it. We appreciate you. And your patience for waiting on us. Also, without Charmaine, we couldn't have done anything. The OEM coordinator got the license all over to Searcy County. They all belong to Searcy County. It's all under the OEM. All the licenses are in Searcy County OEM name. All of that. That just took about 18 months. But got all in just a little bit of work. Also, Searcy County Fire Coordinator, Fire Association President Keith Carnes, he's made probably 150 trips from the mountain down here, worked countless hours. We couldn't have got it without him doing it. He didn't get a penny for it. He's made a lot of enemies. Yeah, I don't think he's made a friend. But anyway, he's done lots of it. First of all, he wouldn't have the project if he hadn't asked you for it, but I wouldn't want to. I just let him, and I appreciate him. Also, Daniel Turhurst from PG&S worked a lot of hours helping us with it. And Delta Controls is Rocky. When the bid was all said and done, we come in and there was almost $7,500 left in the bid. He come to the office Thursday and he said, let's order some extra equipment. I said, well, really, that's a bid, that's yours. And he said, no. I said, I've done turned in my money. So we ordered $7,400 worth of extra equipment, replacement radio, computers that runs the equipment down there. Some out there, we've got a complete system from coax, antenna, repeater, and everything that goes in the system there, so duplexers. We've got all that on hand, and all of that will be programmed for the site. We've got a few extra radios because on 400 you're gonna have some duds, you know, and they'll show up, you know. Also, all the Searcy County law enforcement officers and all the Searcy County fire department members, we appreciate them. Got your patience and all this. This couldn't have come home. It's 95% done. We've got some tweaking to do just here and there a little bit, but I'm well pleased with the way it is. I'm well pleased with the way it turned out. It's basically working the way it's designed. If it has to be redesigned, it'll have to be changed a little bit, but it's basically working the way it's designed, and I appreciate that. I'm really glad that we didn't have to, we allowed 2 days to get everything changed over, and it all happened in one trip around the circle. So that's good. When you go from St. Joe to Point Peter to Star Mountain to South Mountain to Nubbin Hill to Oxley and to Rock Creek, that's the other one. When you make that circle, you don't want to make it twice in a day, honestly. Any questions on that?
Thank you, sir, for your excellent job.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm sorry, Dave, I'm
Whose
sorry.
idea was it to fix it where you couldn't scan the sheriff's office?
Huh?
Whose idea was it to fix the radios where they wouldn't scan the law enforcement?
Well, that decision made the FAR coordinator, FAR Association president. There's some issues with digital. You can tie up the law enforcement channel accidentally. If you get over on the law and accidentally and you sell on your deal or you're talking back and forth on it, then they can't break in on it like you can because you hit the squelch break. And that's one of the issues on that. That's the reason Blaze has got this up where you can hear it on your phone. You can hear all the radio traffic on your phone with fire and law if you want, and it doesn't cost anything. That's one thing. Another thing is, you know, we just, there's some legality issues about certain people having radios also. And you know, and I'm not saying that it didn't fall into the wrong hands, but if it did, then that'd be that. Did I answer your question?
You talking about Blaze Thomas? Rocket Blaze Thomas, you said Blaze.
Well, Blaze Thomas has got the app, you can get on the app.
You can download the app.
On Zello, you can get on the app, Zello, you can listen to fire and law, and you got the approval from the sheriff to listen to the South Mountain Law Tower, and you can listen to it, and the app, if you've got Facebook, you can get it, he's got a QR screen there, you can download it and do it and have it in a few seconds, or your 5-year-old can, I can't, but some 5-year-old something can, but anyway.
So you can monitor the traffic through the app.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I turned on, you can hear it.
It'll come up on your phone when you're sitting there.
And on your phone.
Like a scanner.
The thing is, it's in the law, if you're working a wreck with some of the law, all he's gotta do is switch one button. He can talk to you, all you gotta do is call dispatch, they can patch you, you can talk to them, just like anything else, they can patch you through, right there where you can talk to the law and the fire law.
Dave, you're more talking about like private citizens being able to run a scanner, is what you're talking about.
I'm talking about if you went out there on call at 3 o'clock in the morning, run into a crazy man, couldn't get on the law, or couldn't get no help.
You can always get dispatch, and you know, dispatch, the law is only as far away as however long they are, you know, 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 minutes. You know, whether you call them or dispatch calls them at the same distance from you. And I see you pointing at it also.
So Eddie at the fire department, they still talk to the sheriff's office.
You talk to dispatch.
Yeah.
And if you need, and if, Marshall Fire Department needs to talk to Marshall PD, they can patch you together right down there, and you're talking right there they can patch you together right there. It's just one grid. And of course, now, like I said, that's a learning curve. It takes a little bit of learning, but, there's a lot of buttons on the screen. I think it's about 22 buttons down there to, well, you know, it takes a little bit of learning. They're gaining on it.
Even with the old radios, you couldn't talk directly to you could talk to them on the far side.
But they had to come to fire.
Right.
That's right. That's the way. Now, certain radios in the county had the law, but, I've talked to several that have been on the fire department a long time and never could talk straight to law on the law side.
Yeah, we never could straight on the law side.
But I know there was that some could,
Yeah,
honestly, and that's the gripe.
Yeah.
They could before, but I'm not saying they ought to have, but
We had-
now the law can come to the fire side and they can talk anytime like that. Or you can talk through the dispatch back there, but the law officer's gotta do is switch his channel number, just like you switching yours, and he can talk to you.
Rocco had a few, that worked at the sheriff's office, they had theirs where they could talk to the law side, but the rest of them could.
Yeah. There's a few of them can, and, probably more than was supposed to could, and there's not many of them can now. Okay.
Thank you, Gary, appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Anybody got anything else?
Well, my wife had brought this from meetings that she went to. She made a copy for all the court members. This is how Searcy County, went about, putting their fire dues on their property taxes. So,
Excuse me,
Come on.
this is Tony's copy.
okay. So we're just gonna, let all the court members kind of look it over. The front page tells you about everything. The front page of it. So, I've got you a copy right here, okay? So, y'all can read it and look over it, and, maybe by the next meeting, we'll be able to figure out what we wanna do, how we wanna go forward, and talk to the fire districts, and fire departments. I mean, there is a path forward, but we just wanna make sure we do it right, and that's all I really got. I don't want to discuss it much without everybody getting a chance to read over.
And
I have a constituent that's having a problem with a neighbor over noise. They're evidently pretty close to each other on the property line, and they've been listening. She sent me a video the other day. It's kind of going back to the noise issues that we talked about. I can't even think of the crypto mining thing. Anyway, the generator's sitting pretty close to her house, and she sent me a video in her bathroom through the window, and they've been listening to this for 2 years. And law enforcement doesn't have any teeth, no way to say, hey, do something about this. So I'm gonna pass out some information that Chad has put together for us on the noise ordinance for the county. And I'd like for everybody to spend some time, read through it, mark on it, highlight what you like, what you don't like, anything that you see that we can improve. And this is just a starting point. I really believe if I'd been in her shoes, Chad would have already met me. I've probably been shooting at my neighbor, you know. So I think I owe it to her. And she's been very patient with me, a couple, 3 months, I guess, waiting. And so I just want you to look at that, and then we'll come back and y'all can give me your feedback and what you think about this.
So the crypto mine ordinance, was it only pertaining to crypto mines?
Specifically addresses crypto mining activities. That ordinance that's being passed around right now, is
this a proposed ordinance?
So the street asked me to put something together, and I told them I'd put something together, and I'll tell you what I did, and I took a municipal ordinance, so probably more restricted than you would want to be at the county, but it's easier to take things out than add them in. So that's a sample from a municipal ordinance, and I just sort of switched out cities and put county in. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if you all look at that and think it's far more restricted than you want to be in the county, but it's somewhere to start.
And if something like this passes, once everything's worked out, then it would make it more of a law abiding where the law could do something.
It declares it declares violations of the ordinance to be a misdemeanor that can be cited by police.
Okay.
I know that one of the issues was the sawmills. I know that was in these different type of manufacturing things, and so this would include nighttime, or does it have daytime and nighttime? DBS?
I haven't got to look at it either.
Daytime and nighttime?
It's pretty general. It does have some specifics regarding certain construction activities and things like that. We can, like I said, you can certainly do something with nighttime, daytime. You know, what's interesting about counties versus cities is that you really don't have zoning. You know, you can't tell somebody you can't put a sawmill on this property because it's not zoned for commercial uses. So that's gonna be a little more nuanced, a little more complicated if you're in a city, because you know, your city marshal, there's an industrial zone, and somebody can run an industrial activity in the industrial zone 24 hours a day and not really have to think about noise, as long as it's not, you know, going into the residential area. You don't have that. So if there's a sawmill out in the county, you're gonna have to think about how you can draw that around the sawmill operation so that can operate. So maybe a specific exemption for
Cause we would have to do that, because there are sawmills that I know for sure we will have some problems with that.
Yeah.
I have a timeline on it too, that'd probably take care of a lot of that.
Some of these,
Listed on that.
I know some of these sawmills, I think most of them are sunrise or sunset, but if you give an order, I think they might have to run past that.
That's the reason I wanted to pass this out, and let everybody look at it. And, you know, I didn't want to come with my opinion on everything. Like I said, just ask Chad to help me with that, so.
Would this include things like, kennels and things like that, dog kennels?
Must be up to us.
I believe there is a section in there on animal noises. And, yeah, you know, if you're operating a shelter or something like that, generally, that's kind of what would be expected. So,
You know, if a neighbor would be a neighbor, we would have to look at this, but, you know, sometimes you get crossways with your neighbor, and you think too much of it, you know.
as a general rule, you know, that ordinance, you're really not in violation of that ordinance to the extent that the noise you generate leaves your property. So that's one way to think about it. So if you're operating on a track that's large enough that your neighbor doesn't hear you, it's really not a problem how much noise you make. So, but it's, like I said, just let me know what you think about it. If you want to do something, we can tweak it. I would recommend, because you're gonna get a reaction from the community most likely, to take advantage of the fact that the 3 readings on general ordinances, so that way you can get that opportunity to get feedback from the community. You know, this is one of these things that the law is actually kind of set up to be pretty deliberative.
So not suspending rule, but 3 days of reading.
I can just tell you from experience working with other governing bodies, when you start talking about something like this, there's gonna be the people that are complaining, and I'm not saying anything about those complaints, but then there's gonna be reaction to people that are seeing what you're thinking about doing. You're gonna wanna listen to them as well. So, you might consider taking the full 3 readings so that you have 3 months to kind of talk this through and decide what you wanna do. I know that's not gonna help your person that's
But
able to complain.
she's suffered it for 2 years, plus another few months.
Is this, where's it at, what community?
Trace Ridge, Chimes out of 254, that area up there.
Anybody else got anything? Anybody out in the audience got anything?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?